You know that gut punch feeling when your favorite crypto tanks overnight? Well, I had one of those moments this week, right? Because XRP dipped under $3 and it was close, at least I was close to panicking. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? But get this, I stumbled upon a tweet, that called the crash a massive blessing. And yeah, a blessing. I thought that was a joke at first. Little did I know, right, that the one tweet actually would flip my whole perspective on its head. So there I was, right, staring at the screen. XRP was about $2.95, and I'm feeling, that my heart kind of just sink, right? Just a week ago, I was sure that we would actually see fireworks after Ripple had won that lawsuit. I had my celebratory tweet all drafted up and everything. Instead, whop, right? Price just starts sinking, right? It felt like the universe was, playing a prank on us XRP holders. But before I could join the party, or the pity party at that, and smash the old sell button, I saw something on Twitter that made me pause. It was this guy, Coach JV, right, a big XRP advocate, tweeting that XRP under $3 actually is a massive blessing, a blessing of all things. And my first reaction was basically, wait, what did I read? And did I read that right? I mean, how is anyone seeing a near 50% drop from its peak a good thing? Now that curiosity, my friends, is what kept me from closing the app and pouring a stiff drink. I had to know more, right? Why on earth would someone actually say that, right? And could he actually be right about it, right? So let me kind of just back up here for a second, right? A lot of people, I kind of got caught up in this hype for XRP, right? When XRP's lawsuit saga cleared up, I expected to kind of be the moon kind of action, right? But many of us actually did this and did think that. But what we actually thought we'd see was cruising kind of past $5, maybe even $10 in no time at all. Instead, we kind of got a fake pump and then boom, right, back under $3. And honestly, it kind of felt like finding your birthday party got cancelled on the day of it, right? Today, it's just total buzzkill, right? Now, the worst part was that I almost joined the panic sellers. And you know what they say about weak hands, right? I was about to be textbook. Now, here is the thing, right? I've been around the crypto block for a while, and something that, in the back of my head just whispered, just take a breath, man, right? Don't do anything crazy just yet. And so I'm doom scrolling through reactions on Twitter, trying to validate my gloom then, right? When I come across Coach JV's post. Now this guy is pretty well known in the XRP community, kind of a motivational speaker type. Now he's sitting there calling this dip a losing, a blessing actually, right? Meanwhile, I'm sitting here thinking, oh, my investment is losing its ground and it's cursed, or there's something just really, really wrong about it. But, I actually almost just scrolled on past, right? But he had this line that kind of hooked me. It was this. He said, "This is where wealth is built." And so I had to know more. Now, I know it sounds like one of those cliche lines that you hear from every crypto guru, right? But he goes on. He uses an analogy that really hit home with me, right? He compares investing to farming, right? He basically says that most people only want to buy the crops when they are tall and ready to harvest. The translation is that when the price is skyrocketing and everyone's FOMOing in, it's like wanting to kind of show up at the farm just to pick a pumpkin in October. But the real money is actually made by the farmers who were out there in the dirt, in the off-season, planting the seeds when the field looked empty and barren. So right now, at under $3 XRP, it's kind of like that quiet field in the winter. So to be kind of, at least to the impatient eye anyway, nothing is really happening there, right? But it maybe looks boring, maybe even just a little bit ugly. But to someone with vision, it's fertile ground, just waiting to explode with growth. Now, the farming analogy kind of got me because it kind of, as I kind of grew up in a rather rural area, so maybe it kind of resonated, just extra little bit harder with me. But I remember this old neighbor of mine, like Mr. Thompson, who always used to tell me the hardest part of the years when nothing is growing, but when you're prepared for the best harvest. Now, as a kid, I kind of never really cared. Like, kind of wake me up when the strawberries are ready, right? But now I kind of feel like I finally get it. The boring part, the waiting, the working, when there's no obvious reward just yet. That's where the magic really happens. So in crypto terms, what that actually kind of means accumulating and building your positions during the sideways and down times, long before the next bull run even starts revving its engine. So here I am then, right, marinating on all of this, and I realize I was about to do exactly the opposite of what Coach V is actually getting at here. I was about to close my positions, my seeds, because the soil looked dry. How blockchain and works, or how all that kind of backwards is, all of that, right? It just doesn't make any sense. It's kind of like quitting the gym after a week because you don't have a six-pack yet, right? It's all about patience and hard work. That's the secret sauce that I was about to toss out of the window. Right. And, we should probably say that I'm just mulling all of this over, and I see someone that has actually replied to Coach JV's tweet. Now, this person basically says, dude, forget $3 being a blessing. Talk to me when XRP hits $500. That's the real blessing. Now, I actually kind of laughed out loud reading that because, I get it, right? $500 XRP would be pretty insane. That's the kind of thing where you screenshot your portfolio and retire on a beach, right? But Coach JV kind of slapped back with something that made me kind of nod in agreement. He said that by the time XRP is $500, the only people celebrating will be the warriors who kept their cool during the entire time and the red days. Those who kept accumulating when, it was dirt cheap at $3 and maybe even earlier. In other words, if you're not seeing the blessings at $3, you're probably not going to be popping champagne at $500, right? Now that kind of really was a bit of a mic drop moment for me. It kind of put things into perspective, right? Everybody wants the prize, right? But very few people actually want to endure the process, right? We all fantasize about our favorite coins hitting some crazy high number, $10, $100, $500, whatever it may be, right? But how many of us are willing to endure it kind of bobbing around at $2 to $3 or even dipping lower, right? Without losing faith, of course. It's kind of like wanting that six-pack abs, but not wanting to actually do any real work to get them, right? You can't magically teleport to the end results. You've got to actually grind through all of the unsexy parts as well. Now, let's be real here for just a second. Do I actually believe XRP will hit, $500? I'm not planning on it, right? And let's kind of just put it that way, right? Would I complain if it did? Heck no, right? I would probably do a backflip if I could, probably falling miserably and failing at every kind of potential attempt of it I try, but you kind of get the idea. But I also have this kind of pragmatic side, right? Coach JV's whole point is about mindset. It's about seeing opportunity, about when others, of course, see the doom, right? And even if XRP only ever gets to, let's say, $10 or $50 in some distant rosy future, the principle, it still actually holds true, right? The ones who benefit most will be the ones who had conviction when it was under $3. And this isn't just some kind of motivational talk either. There are some numbers behind it. Now, according to some stats that I read, most XRP holders have fewer than 500 XRP to their name. 500 XRP at the current price is what, around $1,500 or so? So if you're, that kind of person dreaming of a Lambo, you kind of need to do a crazy price like $500 to, or at least even more maybe, to even make bank, right? At $500 per XRP, 500 coins becomes $250,000. It's not too shabby, but it's not exactly unimaginable wealth, right? Teletory. So if you had, let's say, 25,000 XRP and it hits $100, you'd be sitting on $2.5 million. Now that point is, at least the point is that the fewer coins that you hold, the higher the price per coin needs to be for truly life-changing gains. And people do like to throw around some unimaginable numbers in the XRP community. I've heard things from $589, a classic meme, to $10,000 per XRP prediction. A $10,000 a pop early, XRP holders would basically become the new Illuminati or something because the wealth would be that concentrated. Now, it sounds absurd, it kind of is, but hey, people are, have been actually tossing these figures around for quite a few years. Now, I'm not going to tell you that those sky-high targets will or won't happen. My job isn't to make price predictions in today's video. My job is to just be an XRP holder and an enthusiast sharing a wild ride with you guys. But thinking about all of these huge numbers, it did give me another perspective. If there's even a 1% chance of something crazy like that happening, wouldn't I want to have at least a little skin in the game right now, rather than kick myself later if the show didn't somehow, come true, right? It would be devastating if, somehow it ended up at $10,000 and I just ignored XRP. Imagine waking up to $500 or $1,000 XRP and you sold everything at $3 because, the wait was just too boring. That would be a nightmare. It would fuel a lot of FOMO more than any hype video ever could. So after all of the mental kind of back and forth, I made a decision here. It was kind of like a scene in a movie where the music kind of builds up, except the kind of music was my heart pounding, right? Instead of giving in to the fear and the frustration, right, I did the opposite. I bought a little bit more XRP. Yeah, I leaned right into the dip. Now, this is not me telling you to do the same. I'm just some guy on the internet sharing what I did. For me, of course, it was, just a gut check moment. I asked myself, do I believe the long-term story of this thing? Yes or no, right? The answer was yes, so I put my money where my mouth is. Just a little, nothing crazy. I'm not taking out a second mortgage to buy magic internet coins or anything like that. But enough that I'd be thrilled if XRP takes off. And I'm also not totally devastated if it goes to $1 tomorrow, for example. So I hopped on Kraken Pro to make my buy. And let me tell you, right, buying then when the most people were selling, it was kind of weirdly good feeling, right? Kind of like I was taking a break, right? Or breaking, I guess, the fourth wall in some analogies of investing or something like that, right? It's the classic Buffett quote, Buffett quote, I should say, playing out. Be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when other people are fearful. And a lot of people are definitely fearful at the moment. And greed might not be the right word for what I left, or at least kind of what I felt and what I left after I left Kraken, I should say. It was kind of more like resolve. Like, okay, I'm doubling down on what I believe, so let's go. Now, am I saying this is a guarantee to pay off? Absolutely not, right? For all I know, XRP could stay under $1, right? Or under $3 for the next 5 years. Or maybe even drop further before it even rises. This could be a very long game. And I'm fully aware that I might be sitting on this investment for a while. But mentally, I've committed to that. And I literally told myself, all right, buddy, if you're doing this, you're doing it for the long haul. No whining about next week if it's at $2.50 kind of deal. And since we've kind of been talking about the risks and big expectations, now's probably a good time for a bit of a reality check here. And this one might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses, and this video today is for entertainment and educational purposes only. All right, I'm glad that we got that out of the way. I know that the disclaimer can be a bit of a buzzkill, but hey, it's an important one. This is kind of my journey after all. I'm not financial gospel. So think of it like I'm just journaling out loud for you guys. And in my kind of journal here, I'm definitely writing that I need to stay level-headed because even though I'm optimistic right now, I'm not delusional either. I do check myself by hopping into our free educational Discord server and seeing what other people are saying, right? Now, by the way, we have this free educational Discord server where a bunch of us discuss stuff just like this and keep each other sane. Seriously, sometimes we need a community to remind us that you're not crazy for believing in something and, that maybe isn't as popular at the moment. And other times you need to be reminded not to get too high on the hopium either. It's a balancing act, right? Now, speaking of hopium, let's touch on those wild predictions, right? Those wild predictions, in fact, right? Because XRP, right, community is kind of notorious for its kind of, I guess, extravagant forecasts, right? If you're new, welcome to the party. I mentioned $10,000 earlier, right? Could that happen? Well, in some kind of bizarro alternative universe, maybe. Right? If it does, I promise I will film myself doing the most ridiculous victory dance and post it for you guys. But realistically, right, I'm forecasting on milestones like $5, $10, $50. Heck, I'll be honest, if XRP hits its previous all-time high of around $3.86 and actually holds there, then that alone would be a huge confidence booster, right? One step at a time, right? Now the key is, I'm trying not to kind of let those kind of big numbers distract me from the kind of present opportunity, right? It's kind of fun to dream big, but you can't live in a dream, right? You've got to act in reality. And reality right now is XRP is around $3 and a little bit lower than that too. The lawsuit drama is now behind us and the entire crypto market cycle likely ahead of us. If history repeats, even just a little bit here, there's usually a big run-up when nobody expects it. Often it's after the hype has died down. Excuse me, I apologize. If I forget to edit that out, I completely apologize for that. It is what it is. Anyway, you know what? When the news isn't crazy or constantly talking about crypto, that's kind of when one friend who kind of got into Bitcoin last month has already moved onto an AI stock or whatever. That's usually when crypto likes to surprise everyone, basically when it goes quiet. Now, it reminds me of after the 2017 boom and bust. By 2019, so many people had written off crypto as dead. It was boring again, and 2020, 2021 happened, and surprise, massive bull run. Now, I can't predict the future, but I wouldn't be shocked if something like that were to play out in the future for XRP and the rest of the market. Maybe it takes a year, maybe it takes 2, maybe it takes 5. But if that, if and when that comes, I guess I want to be there with my bags fully packed, not scrambling around to FOMO in at the last minute, right? That's the worst. So here is my takeaway from this whole rambling adventure today. Sometimes the worst of times in crypto can secretly be the best of times. Now, if you have the right mindset, and of course, if the project actually has real value, which I believe XRP does, but that's a whole other conversation, then I went from nearly kind of, I guess, capitulating to actually feeling grateful, for a dip here, right? Who would have actually thought that, right? It's a little kind of cheesy saying, turning a crisis into an opportunity, but I've got to admit, it kind of rings true right now. Now, I learned that being on this roller coaster is a lot more fun when you accept the twists instead of kind of bracing in terror at every drop. Now, when I see red on the screen, I'm trying to rewire my brain to think sale time instead of game over. Will it always work? Probably not, right? I'm sure there will be times when I buy a dip and it just keeps on dipping, right? And been there before, we've done that before, and we've got the t-shirt before. But overall, that experience gave me thicker skin and a clearer vision. It's also made me appreciate the community and knowledge sharing even more, because going through these ups and the downs alone can drive you insane, I should say. Having people to talk it through and talk it out with, whether it's celebrating small wins or commiserating over setbacks, keeps me grounded. Now, in the end, I remind myself of Coach JV's message, right? Core messages, right? Wealth is built in these quiet moments when not much is actually happening and it feels like waiting and watching paint dry. The seeds that I plant now could become something incredible down the road, or maybe they won't. I have to allow for that too. But if I ever plant them because I'm too busy worrying about or even chasing something else, then I've basically decided my future already. Nothing will grow. So if you're still here listening to my story, first off, you're the real one. Thank you. Secondly, maybe you're going to think about your own approach to these kinds of moments. Now, I'm not saying do what I did, right? I'm just hope that my experience will give some food for thought. Whether you're an XRP holder or someone who's been through the market's ups and downs, you know the feeling. Sometimes you've got to zoom out, take a deep breath, and remember why you got into this game in the first place. And for me, I'm excited, not because I think that I'm going to wake up tomorrow and XRP will be $10, though, universe, if you're listening, I won't complain. I'm excited because I feel back in control of my narrative here, right? I didn't let fear, make a decision. I made it from a place of rational optimism, and whatever happens next, moon, gloom, or sideways doom, I've got a story to tell. In fact, we'll all have a story to tell and share at some point, because I'm talking to you guys along and I'm taking you guys along on this ride with me. So if you've enjoyed coming on this little roller coaster with me, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, stick around for the next one, and I'll catch you in the next video.